Today we're going to look at PSIcapture and the ability to process invoice documents through to the accounting system called Xero. So let's go and have a look. Here is my watch folder, and I'll scan a bunch of documents into that watch folder. And each of those invoices is a different vendor. Within 30 seconds or less, the queue folder will be created, and that means PSIcapture has identified these documents within the folder and automatically starting to ingest them into the system. So we can monitor folders, network folders, SharePoint, or even write fax servers. So once the queue folder has moved, it means PSIcapture is now currently in there processing these documents. Now the first phase of this is the classification. So it's captured the documents and now sitting at step 2 of 6, which is my classification step. So it's going to go through all my vendors and identify those vendors and associate certain characteristics and information against those vendors. Now there will be a vendor that it won't find. It hasn't seen it before, so what we'll do is open up the classification stage and show you how on the fly a user would go and configure a new vendor. So just refreshing that, you can see that it's now got a suspended batch. It's notified me, and I can come into and open that batch. Now what we'll find in here is that we have a vendor that has been identified, but it needs to be validated. So to do that, what we've done is taken our accounts payable system details for our vendors and loaded up a database of our vendors. So the first time it sees this document, we need to validate it. So I'll come in and validate that existing form definition. So SiGen, with that database load of vendors, has already built my rules for my classification automatically for me. And if I wanted to, I have the ability to create other rules by just using my mouse and clicking on the information that I want to build a rule up for. So it's not requiring technical abilities at this stage. So the other thing I want to do is set up line item extraction. So what I want to do here is start going and building up line item extraction. So I'm going to extract quantity column, the description column, the unit price column, which is also a numeric value, and the total column, which is again numeric. I'll also want to identify that the description line is a multi-line, which means it will wrap. And now I want to preview that. So you can see here that we've extracted that multi-line row, and the other two lines there as well have been extracted, plus the amount fields. So once I'm happy with the extraction, I've set up and configured my details. I then come through and I associate those lines or those columns that I want to take through to the process to a index field. So now that's been done, these columns will be associated with index field information, my document type, so they're now mapped. You don't require to map all index fields. Over on the zone definition profile, although we've never seen this invoice before through the system, it automatically identifies the key values through patterns and moves my zones and creates my zones to the correct locations. If the zone needs to be adjusted, for example, if the invoice number was to be created left aligned, I might want to grow that to the right, so I can adjust those zones to suit. You can also see the total down the bottom, and it's in green because this is called a smart zone. We have the ability to create smart zones, and that will go and find the data on the page and extract the information out. Now if that total moved up and down the page, so it wasn't going to be in a static position, all you need to do is move the actual zone higher in the page so it will pick up the key values and extract the correct amounts out. Once that's been completed and done, you have the ability now to save. And you can see that the checkbox, the question mark, is now turned into a green tick for Rocky's music. So we're going to now move that on. We're going to close the classification down, and we're going to move back into my batch manager area. In the batch manager area, this is where we can see what's happening, and PSIcapture has automatically picked this document up, or the batch up with those document vendor invoices up, and it's now currently checked out and it's currently processing it at the indexing step. At the indexing stage, what we're going to do is go through the document and extract all the key values from the header information, the line item details, and then we're going to stop it at our quality assurance step. In quality assurance, it will get you a view of the data that's automatically been extracted out. So let's go and just refresh the batch manager, and you can see that it's now at step 4 of 6 and it's at quality assurance, and it is checked in. So we can now go and open that batch up and view the data that's automatically been extracted for our documents. You can see that we've extracted the ABN, the vendor name, the invoice number, the date, the invoice amount, the line item quantity, descriptions, unit price and total, and we've got a couple of key elements at the back for our Xero migration. In here we can actually click on a field and it will show you the data on the page, and if you wanted to have PSIcapture zoom in on that, we just have to go and change a couple of settings, and when you go into the document, into the fields, it'll zoom into the data that's been extracted so you can get a close view of that information. And if you wanted to come into a little bit further, we also have a magnifying glass to do a zoom into that document. So once all the data has been extracted, and as you can see all the line items have been removed out, and I'll just turn off that zoom, so you can come in here and you can actually identify the line items. You can see that's being highlighted in blue there. So that's all been pulled from the documents. So now once we're happy with the data extraction, we can now close that batch again and come back into our batch manager. You can automatically see that PSIcapture has picked up those documents again and starting to go through the next process, which is called OCR. OCR does a whole range of things for us, but mostly it creates that searchable PDF. What we'll also be doing is placing key metadata in the back of that PDF, so you've got traceability and auditability further down in the process. So that will take a second to process, and the next stage of that will be our migration, and that will go directly into our Xero system. Refreshing that page, you can see that it's already starting to migrate through to Xero. It's got the migration stage and it's still currently checked out. And within a second it will actually be completed. So all those invoices are now gone. Within our Xero system, we're going to come into accounts and then purchases. And you can see here I have 8 drafts. Here are all the invoices from our vendors that have been processed from PSIcapture. So we can come in here and we can open up any of these elements and have a look. So here are all our line items. The Xero user then comes through and allocates the account. They can set a due date. PSIcapture can also pass the due date if you're wanting to set up certain rules, and we can also have a look at the PDF that was sent through. And there's the PDF. We can also name the PDF according to your rules, and we also have the document properties, which we have populated the title, author and subject with key elements from the vendor invoice. Plus we've also placed a whole range of data in the back of the PDF so that you've got some traceability and auditability later in the process. Once we've done that, we can now approve that invoice and it will then go through to payment.